Original Flash. We talked about that. If you don't mind, we'll see if this works. I want to play a little something from last year. I'm going to channel the Speed Force and go back in time for 1 year.
Great.
I ain't putting on that suit.
Putting on that suit.
Okay, let's start off. Mr. Shipp, you've got some explaining to do.
Never say never. I remember
You put on the suit.
when I did the last scene from the 1990 show, you know, with Mark Hamill, the last Trial of the Trickster episode in New York. It was 5 in the morning. We were in Southeast LA, as we were always shooting, right, trying to get the last shot before the sun came up. And it was the very last shot of a very long season, and I took both wings and threw them on the air, and I swore I would never get back in another superhero suit if I didn't have to. And lo and behold, you know, but he got those wings. This time, I'm going to get something. I'm going to get that helmet. Mark's not getting a helmet this time.
You got it. Well, I mean, okay, granted, when we spoke last year, obviously you didn't know where they were going. They keep things under wraps so well.
I don't think they knew.
Really?
Yeah.
Even when they introduced your character as Henry,
No.
Everybody thought you were going to be Jay Garrett. You thought they it might be Jay Garrett when you were in the
That's who everybody wanted me to be. I didn't want to be because I thought that would be too on the nose. It would be like you know, another comparing me with me 25 years later. No, it's like put these two pictures side by side now. But yeah, but since I got to play Henry Allen, and Henry Allen was the humanity and the real human element in a superhero action-adventure show, then I felt like I got to ground myself. Plus, it was a completely different retelling, wasn't it? It was, I mean, you know, for those who, how many remember the original show? Well, you know, Emmett Walsh was not wrongfully imprisoned for killing Priscilla Pointer in front of a 10-year-old me. You know, that's the modern telling. And when I found out that that was the Henry Allen story now, I thought, if they come to me, that's the part that I would like to play. Having grounded myself in that part with those very truthful, non-action adventure, father-son, heartfelt moments, now it's kind of fun to transition into a superhero character. I have to tell you a fun thing. I don't think this is a spoiler, but Grant and I were doing...
So I love when you say that because there's so much potential there.
Grant and I were doing a scene with me as Jay and him as Barry, and so we're running lines. We're used to relating as Henry and Barry. You know, very heartfelt, very vulnerable, very real. Well, Jay's completely different, you know, and in League with Andrew Kreisberg, we want to make him as different as possible, and so. Grant and I were running lines before a scene. At one point, he just shakes his head and starts laughing. I was like, "What's the matter?" He said, "This is so bizarre." He said, "But it's cool." He said, "It's cool, but doing these scenes with you, it's like doing scenes with a different person." So we're looking forward to. And when you're working with someone as great as Grant, and it's fun. Now we get to learn each other all over again with different character relationships. So that's. Very unique situation to be in.
When did you first realize you were going to be Jay Garrett moving forward? And I say that because you're still Henry. I mean, and we'll talk about that with Flashpoint, but when did you realize, yeah, I get to suit up again? Or, oh no, I have to suit up again. I don't know which way it would have gone.
You know, these guys are so busy. These guys being Greg Berlanti, Andrew Kreisberg, Jeff Johns. I mean, obviously it's a great time to be a superhero fan, right? Because there's so much going on. So many, it's a smorgasbord of superheroes. But, you know, so their minds work so fast and they're spitting out story on so many different platforms so fast that the information doesn't always get where they think it's gotten. So I go up in March to do the last 4 episodes of season 2. I figured Henry Allen was coming to the end of his usefulness in the show. Because my job, I felt, season 1, was twofold. To graft the 1990 audience onto the 2014 effort, and also to bring Barry from having gotten these powers to the point where he was comfortable assuming them. Once he's comfortable assuming them and coming into his own, Henry Allen's job pretty much story-wise is done. So I expected that Henry would be drawing to a close. Then I went to my first costume fitting. And can I stand up with these mics?
Please do, yeah. I knew what you liked.
I go to my
We'll have
first...
the over-under on 7 minutes.
I go to my first costume fitting, and they bring out this brown prison suit that's shredded. And I'm like, okay, Henry's out of prison, and besides, what happened to him? But I try it on, and I'm fitting, with Kate, and she says, of course, the helmet is with the costume department. And I go, the helmet. And she just goes, oh my God, they didn't tell you? They haven't told you? I said, I'm the man in the iron, what do they call it? Mask, in the mask. And she went, you didn't hear it from me, you didn't hear it from me. So I went, well, that's pretty cool, that is great. And so I got makeup tests for the beard and all this stuff, it was great. So then in between scenes, Jesse and Grant and I are sitting around. And they said, so you hear what you're doing next season? I said, yeah, I'm the man in the iron mask. And they're going, yeah. And I stop, because that's all I know. And they go, that's all you know? I say, there's more. And they say, you're Jake Garrick. I said, get out of town. They said, no, the whole thing is when the iron mask comes off, there's Barry, who looks just like his dad, and it turns out that you're the real Jake Garrick. And the first thing I thought was, another superhero suit. But it's great storytelling. And then of course, I shot an email to Greg, to Berlanti, who I know from Dawson's Creek days. And I said, I'm hearing these rumors about various characters I may or may not be playing over the course of the season. He said, oh my God, I thought they would have told you. I didn't tell him that he is they that would have told them, but you are the they that would have told me no.
You really need to start showing up for the production meetings.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe
Everyone
that's
else
what he
knows
should
about
do.
these, yeah.
It's like,
If the costume fitters are knowing these things, yeah, you should probably show up.
they're the first ones. They know way before we do. And so then I talked to him on the phone, and Andrew came up from LA, and we had a long conversation. And when they said, when they mapped out the arc, that the penultimate episode, Henry dies, traumatic event, boom. Then we pick up Henry's death at the beginning of the season finale. And then before that hour is through, I'm revealed as the man in the iron mask, and it's revealed that I'm the real Jake Garrick. And I was like, well, what can I say? Take me out of the equation. That is great storytelling. I mean, and it's also fan expectation, because as Joe said, people wanted me to be Jake Garrick from the very beginning. And now that I've been Henry, I feel like I can put on a suit again. It'll be okay, maybe. I hope.
Did you have any?
You'll let me know whether it's okay.
Did you have any concerns about getting in a suit again? Because I know that was a big issue back in the original Flash. Did you have any concerns, or was it just all excitement knowing the folks you're working with?
It was so funny because Danny Bilson and Paul Tomato, producers of the first show, they didn't understand my problem with the suit. Now, anyone who came up to me and went, after I had it on, and water or pulled off a glove, and it would be full of sweat up to there, they just dumped it out. They know that the problem was physical, but I got so that I dreaded gluing into that suit. They don't have to use glue anymore for the cowl. And all that, I was like dreading it, and they thought it was psychological. They said, we almost hired you a psychologist to help you out with the suit. And I'm like, it's not psychological, it's physical. But no, watching the new suit and the fact that there's an undersuit now and a leather outer shell. So the operative information we're being is that they can clean it. The first 4 suits built at a cost of $100,000 back in 1990 to build those 4 original suits. But they were one piece. They couldn't be cleaned. They were crumbling because I was sweating through them. They'd hang them in my trailer, spray them with Lysol, and they'd still be wet and sticky when I put them on at 5 a.m. the next morning, whatever it was. Well, now they got smart, see? They have an undersuit, which they can wash, and then you put on the outer shell. Plus, the advantage that Jay Garrick has is is, you know, he doesn't have a cowl. So you lose 40% of your body heat through your head, so it's not going to be as hot. But I'm in being digitally scanned in the suit for action thing or whatever figure in LA. I flew out there to do that. And they're like bringing me water, and they're like, "Are you hot? Are you?" I said, "Are you kidding? I could stay in this thing all day after what I went through 25 years ago. This is Christmas."
Is this your first action figure then? Because I don't think they did anything with the original.
They didn't.
Flashlight.
They
so
didn't.
This is your congratulations.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Figure.
I know I've been scanned. Again, you didn't hear any of this from me.
This isn't a Legends level. See,
this is not a Legends level. I learned my lesson.
I think you're good with
Legends thing.
Tom Cavanaugh. Kind of, when you think about the Flash, when we do these multiple characters, he come back one season, you're another character. Did you kind of get any tips from him on how? Because he did it so brilliantly, playing the same, different versions of the same guy. Did you talk to him, or do you just want to go? No, I need to be over here and do my own thing.
I already had it built in. It's amazing how the different iterations of the Flash that I've done have fed one the other. I mean, the fact that I was Barry and I was in that suit and I knew what that's like, and then here's this new young actor, Grant, who I respect and admire and like so much and want so badly for him to succeed at the beginning before we knew whether it would take off or not. And so that's kind of a built-in father-son relationship. So that fed our father-son relationship, Henry-Barry relationship. Now, he knew me as Barry from having watched the OG Flash, they call it. So then Henry was learning me as a different guy. I think what's funny for him about it now that I'm playing Jay is much closer to my Barry from 25 years ago in terms of his energy, his demeanor. He knows he's a superhero. He's the original superhero. He's a lot cooler in temperature than Henry. He doesn't even know if he trusts this kid.
He's got a job to do.
I've got the Speed Force. It's my legacy. Don't screw it up. Yeah, I look like your dad. Really sorry about that. It's kind of a much cooler attitude. So actually, I'm drawing on. In fact, JC knows this. I went back and I watched what I did in the 1990-91 show because I wanted to remember how I played a superhero back then, and I thought that probably if I reminded myself, I could use things that I saw and pull it forward into now being the Golden Age Flash. But it works together perfectly. They call me the original Flash. It blows my mind.
Because not the original.
It's like, no, the original Golden Age, and I had a little detour through voicing Professor Zoom, it's...
just as long as it's not old or classic, right? We've just, this is what we've talked about.
Older,
as long as you don't say
Original
that.
is good, old, you can, if absolutely necessary, I want, but...
Senior, maybe.
Senior Flash,
OG's fine. Well, we turn it up to the crowd. We've got, let's pick some questions here. We'll repeat the questions as we come in, because I know in the back it gets a little bit difficult. Right here in front, the Flash.
Yeah, do you have any favorite villains from either of the series?
Favorite villains?
Mark,
earlier.
Come on, Mark Hamill. I will never forget when because we were like, that first series, I always tell people it took us 9 days, 2 units running simultaneously to get an hour of television in those days. They can do it in 8 days now because they can do so much more in post-production, right? But in those days, when we wanted to blow something up and have the flames shoot 35 feet in the air, we had to really do it. So we were there hours and hours and hours. Our transpo people were putting in 25 and 26-hour days. It was outrageous. So we were dragging through these episodes. Here comes Mark. He is so ready in character as the trickster, bouncing off the wall with energy. You remember, people who remember the child trickster when he's in the padded cell at the end? Nobody tricks, that part, he comes right up to the glass, He dislocated his shoulder. I mean, this is the energy that this guy had. So it was great to do 2 episodes with him back then. And then when he found out he was coming back to the new show, he was like, I thought I was going to be a friend of Dr. Henry Allen's, maybe an associate. He said, I didn't know what they were going to do with me. I could barely work the unitard 25 years ago. but it was brilliant, wasn't it, what they did? Because they let him be the sort of poisoned in Iron Heights for all those years. All that madness had turned to poison, but they still got the young trickery by casting a young Flash wannabe. That's the genius of our producers. Yeah. Who was your favorite? Who asked me that question? Did you ask me who was your favorite?
Same with me.
Hard to beat, right?
Right, definitely.
Right. And by the way, how about the Star Wars? Was that the greatest silent moment in the history of television? I told him, I wrote him, and I was like, that whole thing, the way they built it, and up the side of the hill and all, and you're waiting, and the music, and this, and then the 2 of them, and he turns around, and I'm like, it's like going to be one of those great moments in cinematic history. It's going to be remembered. And what they managed to convey, and I'll shut up here in a minute and let you ask the next question, but I'm getting off on the actor thing. They had to convey so much without any words, and it couldn't be overdone. It's like, what does she want from him? Is she asking him to remember his reluctance to get back into the whole thing? Maybe a little bit, what passed between them in that moment was pure cinematic gold. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
So the prevailing fan theory is that the TV shows are one role and the movies are another. And the one character that has the potential to cross those worlds to be the Flash. Is that something that might happen? Is there any truth to that? Can you talk about that?
You mean the actors between the movie world and the TV world?
Yeah, so like the Flash, like Grant Gustin's Flash, meeting like Ezra Miller's Flash, for example.
There are some whispers about some people maybe wanting that to happen. As it stands currently,
I want that.
well, then you need to say that out loud. Because they may not listen to us, but they will listen to you.
Don't know if I got that kind of
Get on that. No, believe me, they're combing social media. They're looking to see what the reactions are. They're extremely responsive. I think part of the reason they worked my way around to being Jay Garrick is that so many of the audience, that was the character they wanted me to play to begin with. So they got me there. It took 2 years, but they got me there. I think from what I'm observing is that they want to keep the universes separate right now. They want the movie, rightly or wrongly, their philosophy is the movie universe is one universe, the TV universe is the other. Now, Marvel has sort of combined, haven't they?
Yeah.
And done it very successfully. And maybe in one instance,
That'd be great.
that they're one jump ahead and DC will catch up. I don't know. It's just a different philosophy.
Yeah, I don't think DC should be afraid to copy Marvel's formula. It's successful.
Plus, you guys, thanks. Plus, people are watching on so many different platforms now. People are watching our show on their phone, and they're watching. So, you know what I mean? It's not like you don't necessarily have to go to the movie or go to the TV. All the lines of demarcation are sort of melting into each other. That's kind of a bad analogy, but it might happen. It could happen. Anybody back here? What's going on back here? Questions? Comments? Tomatoes? It's been discussed with me. I can't give anything away. But the fact that I'm Jay Garrick now opens up. Henry was coming to an end. I love those scenes. Every time we do one of those father-son scenes, we really get choked up and we get into it. Every time we do it, I'd say, that's it. There's no other way to play that father-son scene. And they always come up with another way. If you were my son. If the Flash were my son, I'd tell him he's a hero. Save it a while. And I think, wow, that's another way. But it was some junkies. so Joan didn't play it. Well, we were coming sort of to the end of that, and I kind of got the feeling that if you kept playing those spots, it was going to be, you know, so we didn't want to go there. And I love the scene, the last scene between Henry and Barry, when Henry's going to, and Barry's decided to get elected again, powers back, and he's running out of Starlass because he announces, I'm going to do it. His father didn't want him to. And I follow him out into the hallway, and we have that one scene where I have that long cross where I'm saying, I may not have been around to teach you how to drive. I may not have been around to teach you how to drive a car, to choose what college you want to go to, but I'm proud of you, and I've always tried to understand that scene. We think we're headed for another moment. But what does he do? He goes, I know. You know what I mean? I mean, this is a very different gesture from this. And I don't know, it's like an iceberg ran down my spine. It's like, as Henry, it's got to be the feeling that how many dads in the room, that the dads have when suddenly you realize that your kid doesn't need you quite in the same way anymore. And I thought, what brilliant writing that was, because it wasn't long after that I got the hand through the chest. Thanks for that question. Yes, I abused you.
I've been hearing talk about there being a musical episode.
Yeah. Nobody else is down with that?
I'm excited. Participating in that, singing songs, or if we could get a preview or something.
You know, it was inevitable because we've all been on Broadway. We've all done musicals. It's a question of who they choose to use. You know, I don't know. Can I see Jay or Henry? What would happen? What would his voice sound like? I have no idea. Clearly, they're going to take advantage of Melissa and Ray. That's going to be magic. You know, who else comes in and sings a line here or there? I have no way of knowing, but it's been announced that there will be, I believe, 2 that will be musical episodes. But we have musical episodes anyway. I'm telling you, when we're in the middle of shooting, you look over to one side, and over here in this corner, there's Jesse teaching Grant a new tap step. No, that's not it. And then you go over here, well, here comes Tom giving Carlos a ride in the wheelchair. I mean, it's just crazy, but I think that kind of affection, hi Charlotte, that kind of affection shows and breathes on the show. The birthday, is there a birthday group?
Yeah, we have a birthday.
Right
over there.
Over here.
Right in front.
Birthdays, yes, happy birthday. I hope it's a good one. I hope it's a good one. Anyway, yeah, so musical episode. I don't know. It was very funny. Do you guys remember the one in which Caitlin sang? Or rather, she was drunk and did the karaoke?
Yes.
Well, I wasn't sure if she was kidding or not, but apparently Danielle can't sing.
No.
And so I remember when we were filming Henry's death, Andrew was on the set, and in between takes, when he wasn't crying, he said to Andrew, he said, are you going to make Danielle sing? You know, and Andrew goes, probably not. But I don't know about the rest of us. Yes, sir.
I enjoyed your work at General Hospital.
Actually, I did. That's one of the only ones I didn't do. But it was Guiding Light, As the World Turns,
One
All
Life
My
to Live,
Children, One Life to
Santa
Live.
Barbara.
Like 2 years ago, before they knew it was All My Children.
You mean the most recent one?
Just One Life to
One
Live.
Life to Live, Eddie Ford.
Yes.
I know his shit.
He was a singer. He was an abusive dad. He was one of my own dads.
Yeah, so what's the difference between shooting like the flag versus like
Well, I mean, by the time we got into the 2000 to 2010, which is when I did One Life to Live, the budgets had so shrunk, and they were about to go off the air, and we were just doing collections of scenes, and so we got our troupe together and tracked down our storyline, to make it. But in the early days before that, when I started, it was shooting an hour television a day. Well, I just told you it took us 9 days to do an hour television. It takes them 8 days to do the new Flash show. And we would be doing 50 or 60 pages of dialogue a day. When I was on Broadway, the year after The Flash, doing Dancing at Luna, they asked me to come on to All My Children and play another despicable character, Carter Jones. And they were trying to get some days off, so they put a 6th show to tape during a 5-day week. Now I'm doing 8 shows a week on Broadway, and my character was hitting the front burner. Crazy. I would really terrible. Where are the kids? I'd beat up this woman. We hit each other with frying pans and burn each other with grit. Then I'd cry because she didn't love me. But it was just talking, crazy stuff. And doing the show 8 times a week, going back and forth. And I think I maxed out at, I had 45 pages of scenes to shoot in between my 2 performances on matinee day, and I hemorrhaged a vocal cord and stuff. But the difference is that in daytime, you were doing an hour a day. You had to fly with your first impulse, good, bad, or indifferent. Quick story. I remember early lesson, Robert Newman, and I'm guiding light. We were sitting there doing the scene, and they're taping it. And he's supposed to be this real cool guy, and he's talking about that, whatever it was, cost me $50,000. Well, he says, that so-and-so cost me 50,000 bucks. And so he kept going, because the rule in theater is you don't yell cut. In movies and film, you let the director yell cut. Well, at the end, the director said, okay, that's it, moving on, next scene. And it went on the air then. So we learned, if you ever said 50,000 ducks, you better go, oh, God, gee, oh, shit, and say some cuss words. Because no way they could put that on the air, right? Did I answer your question? Yeah, no.
You answered like 5 of them.
Yes. Anyone else?
Over here.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. In season 3, will Jay Garrick have a bigger role or Henry Allen's Flashpoint?
La 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 la. Yes. I can't say, but I just said, so I hope you got my meaning. Yes.
For the fans, what are you looking forward for them to seeing most about season 3 of Flash and the next season of Legends of Tomorrow?
Well, it's just the way we continue to spin out, and that they're really now getting off on the overlapping shows. Now, obviously Grant's gone over to Supergirl. They're going to be crossovers with Legend. Legend is doing the JSA. We don't know what version. Obviously, I'm wondering if I will be. I have no information that I am going to be at this point. Okay, because I've read that. Well, John Wesley Shipp said he was going to be on Legend. No, John Wesley Shipp did not say that. But
I think we said that at TerrifiCon last year.
But I do know that, in the comic books, the JSA is my thing, now that I'm Jay Garrick. So how they'll utilize that, they are structuring contracts on Berlanti shows so that they can, if they choose to, and I don't know that they are going to, but should they so choose, they can move us like chess players on a board between, what a great time, number one, to be an actor in this world and to be viewers in this world, to be fans. How many were comic book fans before being a comic book fan was cool? Don't you guys feel vindicated? Right now, 180,000 people taking over San Diego, and you're walking around going, yeah.
Your comments dovetail, though, into something we talked about last year, too, because we mentioned Paul DeMeo and Danny Bilson, the original showrunners on your show, the original Flash show. We talked about the fact that they might be writing an episode. Now, that seemed like it was going to happen last season. I had a chance to talk to them on Comic Book Central. They said they're waiting for the email to come back. They are chomping at the bit to write something. I'm just curious if that's still a possibility.
It's something that's still churning in the engines. But as I said, now with how many shows have we got going now that they're doing? I don't know. And Greg Berlanti's a new father, and I don't know how they're but I know it's something that they have said that they want to do. I know it's something that Danny and Paul would be receptive to doing if they were asked. I hope they get to do it. I hope it's an episode that I'm in.
It could be a Jay Garrett-centric episode.
Wouldn't that be cool?
That might be legends. I thought I could sneak one in on you there.
I have no knowledge of this. That would be...
But they're amazing storytellers.
Yeah.
I mean, because even think of the Sunday day, because when I talked to them, they said they're doing things now that you guys could never get away with
That's right.
in the 90s. Think of Gorilla Garage, King Shark. I mean, all these things that you can do now. And so be able to turn them loose would just be fantastic.
Yeah, we had a 25th anniversary celebration of Flash 1990 at a theater in Los Angeles. We had a red carpet event, and Mark was there, Joyce Heiser, a lot of the people from the show. Amanda didn't make it. I'm sorry Amanda couldn't be there. But all of the special effects guys, Danny and Paul, were there. Andrew Kreisberg came. Because Andrew Kreisberg was an assistant on the back lot at Warner Brothers when I was doing Flash 1990. When I met him to film the pilot of 2014, Andrew, first of all, was about this tall. And so I went up to him and I was like, hello, meeting my boss for the first time. And he said, actually, we've already met. I'm like, yeah? He said, oh yeah. He said, I was an assistant when you were doing the Flash back in 1990 on the back lot at Warner Brothers, and I totally invaded your space and fanboyed out on you. I'm like, was I nice?
Were you?
Apparently I was.
Okay.
I haven't been fired yet.
That's good. That's a good thing. So. No, and when you talk about things, have they talked even maybe about bringing the Trickster back on? Because now you are a speedster. Have they,
No, that would be interesting. That's something I would love to do. I'd love to get involved now with Mark, with Powers.
On that level.
It's like, it's like even then as Henry Allen, I was like, just let me throw one swing at it. I don't even have to connect. Just let me, but that wasn't in the cards. But maybe as Jay Garrick, we could get into it. And I think that would be a trip.
In front of the show, Alex Dazer. I mean, we've had a chance to talk to Alex Dazer. Is there any, you guys still chat? That is going to be a non-answer right there. How much Coke you got in that bottle there?
I don't know.
Okay. That'd just be a cool episode with him and Cisco.
I agree with you. Joe tries it would be a cool idea.
Just trying to give it a mind of John Wesley Shipp, see if we can get a little something out of here. What are you most excited about going into this coming up season? How many episodes have you shot already?
For this season?
Yeah, well, how many have they shot? I don't know if you've been in there
I think
or not.
They're in the middle of shooting episode 4.
Okay.
And I have 2 in the can already.
Okay.
And I'll be coming back. Again, that's no secret.
Okay, so we know you're playing Henry coming in. So, and Henry and Jay, so what are you most excited about going through the season? I know you don't know everything yet. We certainly don't want to get any spoilers, but just from an acting standpoint, what are you most interested in tackling?
I'm most interested in what I touched on earlier. It's like we had a phenomenal, it's one of the most special working relationships. When we would walk into that jail cell cubicle and pick up those phones and start talking to each other, something, I can even say it, it sounds terribly sentimental, but something magical happened. And it's something that I will always treasure. And now, I get to step back and I get to re-explore this whole world, my relationships with everybody, from a completely different standpoint.
You get to be a husband. You get to be a husband, you get to be a dad in a different sense.
Do I? Do I?
The wife's alive?
Is she? He's tricky. I've worked with this guy.
How much Coke is in that bottle?
You have to be very careful. But it's great, and I've already told you that Grant and I have a scene together with me as Jay, but we're really, the danger with doing series television is that you do a scene with somebody so often, it's like you and I are just meeting, right? So I'm trying to get every physical cue that I can from you to find out who you are, or what, how you're reacting to me, if you think I'm a jerk, trying to pick that up, And but when you work together for a long time, it's like with friends or whatever. Sometimes the danger is you can just start taking each other for granted. Well, Grant and I right now are back to this, because he doesn't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how he's going to react to it, and that as an acting challenge is great fun.
Do you get to improv at all, or are you, because I know like on shows like Firefly, like they have to stick to the script, that you don't go off those words. Is there a little leeway?
We have the best of both worlds. We can, if we want to. They're very respectful of our input, but we don't have to. It's like, people would say, how would you and Grant get that much emotion into your scenes? And I would say, when I read them, I'm like going these things. I've thought, particularly had a real difficulty. What did you guys think about Henry Allen getting out of jail and leaving town on the same day? That was a hard sell.
Don't ask my wife that question.
That went through several different versions to try to. I knew we had to make it about, rightly or wrongly, Henry had to feel that was the best thing for Barry at the time. And it kind of worked because Barry was going through the whole episode saying, I hurt the ones that I love the most. And I also thought, well, people are still kind of seeing me as the original Flash. If I can marry father, son, and original Flash, new Flash, and say the line, can you be everything that you need to be with me here? Meaning me, Henry, meaning me, John Wesley Shipp. Well, obviously, he said he couldn't say yes. And so it was clear. And so I tried to get out, I thought it would resonate with viewers that way, and we could get away with it. Got a lot of blowback on that, but you win a few, you lose a few, right? Okay.
Get some more audience questions? We got a few minutes left yet.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so loved the dynamic and chemistry with you and Amanda Pays in the original. And I was hoping, I have two-parters. One, maybe if you have some favorite moments from working with her on your original Flash series, and also she also was brought back as a character in the new Flash, and have you two compared notes on the experience?
Well, it's the same thing with me and Mark when he came back. We were riding home. We rode took the same car together back to the hotel. And he was saying, wow, how unusual it is to get to revisit the project 25 years later and hand it off to the next people. And I would go further. I'd say not only that, but be given vital characters to play that are making contributions. The great thing about Mandate is, there was so much, we were like an early CSI show, right?
Yeah.
And so she had, thank you, a lot of technobabble. And so who better to say that than Amanda? Didn't it just sound delicious, just, in her accent? It was a brilliant idea. Yeah, we loved our little brief flirtation, before Henry got snatched, but it was great to see her again. Yes, birthday girl.
Is there going to be any other superheroes in the third season?
They've already announced, keep your eyes peeled on blogs and things. There's going to be, Barry will always be the speedster on the show. Obviously, there are other elements. We've got Wally, we've got Jay now. We've got, they're spinning out, what is it, the Rogues Gallery? They keep adding.
We've got Violet Bean, I think.
Yeah, they've already announced some villains that are on.
More Grodd.
More Grodd.
Possibly.
I think you're safe on that one.
Joe feels like there will be more Grodd.
From everything I read on the internet, which is so trustworthy these days.
Well,
Yeah.
it's Grodd that works so well. I wish we could have done Grodd in 1994.
Would you be open to your Flash and Grant's Flash or same episode?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean from 1990?
Yes.
You know, I was horrified to read Andrew say at San Diego Comic-Con that they initially considered putting me back in the original suit. And I was like, no! Well, I love my new suit, man. I love my new suit, my Jay Garrick suit. Who knows what they have in store? You know, they're constantly thinking and inventing. You know, it was very funny because in 2015 at San Diego Comic-Con, Andrew had said, they said, can you ever see John's Flash and Grant's Flash? And he said, well, you know, I'll never, this is before they knew I would be Jay. And they said, well, I'll never say never. He said, but how meta can you get before the whole thing falls apart? You know, so that's their balance right now. He said one other thing that's really funny. They said, in a race between Supergirl and Flash, who would win? And without pausing, he said, the audience. He took his mic, dropped his mic, and that was the end of it. Yes.
A few more questions? Yeah, we got a
Who do
couple.
you think? Because I can't see everybody. Who's been raising their
We got one right over here.
So I know you kind of answered a little bit of a question like this, but season 1 there was only Barry. Season 2 now there's Barry and Jay and maybe Wally and Jesse, but they've been really expanding on speedsters or people who are speedsters in the comics but aren't necessarily on the show. Has there been any talks at all about Bart Allen either appearing on The Flash or maybe Legends of Tomorrow in an episode set in the future?
All I know is that it's bubbling up. A lot of what I said happens on the show, bubbles up from the fan base, bubbles up from the audience. And I'm beginning to see a lot of that bubbling up on Twitter, on Facebook. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if at some point in some version he shows up.
If you want it, tweet it.
If you want it,
If you want to say it,
if you
tweet
want
it.
it, tweet it, write them. They're very responsive, you know. They're that wonderful combination between, they're going to write the show that they want to see. But at the same time, they are listening to you guys. So, you know, don't feel like you're not being heard.
We got time for one more question, so make it a really, really good one. We're going to go out on this one. We've got a really, really good question. Right over here on the left, yep.
I know you can't say who's going to be in the JSA, but can you say like what Golden Age characters or characters from Jay's storylines that you want to show up, like Joe Garrett?
I can't say.
Amanda Pays.
I think
Is the answer.
Joe would like to see Amanda.
We'd like to see Amanda Pays.
Yeah.
One more quick one. Come on. Yes, sir.
Is it going to be like a Jay Garrick specific episode, like on Earth 2? Because Gorilla Brad's on Earth 2 also.
Well, I'm on Earth 3.
Is that I mean, it's still Jay Garrick.
He was trying to
Is
trick
the
you.
idea being tossed around for there to be, you know,
Keep this episode or
a
like a
Saturday
two-part crossover or something?
they are thinking about all those things. They are thinking about, again, if you want to see it, I like that. I'm going to use it. If you want to see it, tweet it. That's nice. Thank you so much.
Hashtag JWS.